May I have your attention, please?
It's Markers and Monsters Drawlloween 2017.
Hello everybody, Colin here once again, and I hope you guys are having a great Sunday. Today's theme, of course, is Sunday, Bloody Sunday. I figured we're going to take a look at the classic Gothic horror flick, Black Sunday. It's an Italian film from 1960, released here in the States in 61, which is an absolute classic. If you've not seen it, highly recommend it. A little bit about the drawing first before we get into the movie. As you can see, I'm kind of drawing in the main face here. There's just going to be kind of a slight background, so this is almost closer to portraiture. I'm going to be using a very muted palette, so it's going to look kind of black and white here on the film, but there's lots of shades of various purples in there as well, which is, I figured would give it a nice look. I'm just trying to kind of render this face and get it just right, as I'm trying to get Barbara Steele, the star of the film and famous Scream Queen, looking just right. Now, later in the episode, you will see I'm going to refill my Cool Gray number 10 as it runs out pretty soon here. Unfortunately, I have kind of a mishap. I overfilled it or something, I don't know, but it splashed out, dumped on the drawing, got all over my hand, and I'll show my finger, and I have a crazy, like, zombie-looking finger here. I tried to wash everything away. There's a spill. So right now I'm running to the bathroom trying to scrub this off here. So there's the zombie finger. Yuck. And it's still that way. That stuff is not coming off. But yeah, so muted color palette made for an interesting little portrait here and pretty straightforward. Now let's talk about the film, and you can understand why I'm drawing this girl's face and why looks like pimples all over it. That is not the case. That is Barbara Steele, famous and beautiful Scream Queen from the 60s. In this movie, one of the ones that really brought her to the forefront, she plays a witch in 1630 in Moldavia. That's just near Transylvania in Hungary. Anyway, she's accused by her brother of witchcraft and sorcery, of which she is definitely guilty. So they take her and her lover out to the field and chain them up to be burned alive. But before that, they whip her, and then they brand her as a witch. And then in a great scene, they take this iron devil mask. It has spikes all through the inside, and they hold it on her face, and the executioner sledgehammers this mask into her face with all these spikes in it. After that, they entomb her in a church. The coffin has a glass porthole in it, so she can always be looking at this crucifix, which will keep her at bay because she's so unholy. Pretty cool stuff. Well, cut to 200 years later when a couple of doctors are on their way to a medical conference in, I believe, Geneva, when their stagecoach breaks a wheel. Just so happens to be right outside that same spooky old cathedral, which is going to be the background shot there, just that crumbling old wall. They kind of wander around and explore the ruins when they find this coffin with the cross hanging above it, and one of the doctors disturbs it and breaks the glass, and the cross is removed, and they don't think too much of it, but this allows the ancient witch, Asa Vajda is her name, to come back to life. She reincarnates her undead lover, who was buried in the cemetery down the road, and he comes back, and she has him go on a killing spree to gain victims so she can drink their blood and become whole again. Now, Barbara Steele plays a secondary role. She also plays Katja Vajda, the beautiful noblewoman who lives, again, just down the road. One of the doctors, the younger one, falls in love with her, and as they stay and get their wagon repaired and stuff like that, they end up, falling in love with her, but the ancient witch Asa wants to steal Katja and drink her blood, and also to get revenge on her whole family line because her pardon me, her brother was the one that put her away, that said that she was a witch and stuff. So great flick, great Gothic cinematography, very black and white, very moody and atmospheric. Another great role for Barbara Steele. Like I said, the first to kind of put her into the make her the Scream Queen. She was in a whole bunch of movies in the 60s, some like great horror flicks, such as she was in The Pit and the Pendulum with Vincent Price in a small role, Castle of Blood, Nightmare Castle, The She-Beast, and a bunch of others, so good stuff. I'd also like to point out that this is the first solo directorial debut of Mario Bava, a prolific Italian horror director. He did a bunch of things, tons of them, but of note are like Blood and Black Lace. He did Black Sabbath with Boris Karloff, Planet of the Vampires with John Saxon, Hatchet for the Honeymoon, a bunch of giallo flicks, which are like Italian slasher movies at the time. So very cool stuff. So I love this movie. It's one I've had on tape since I was a kid. I still have the VHS, and it's kind of like a bootleg VHS because Italian flicks were hard to get in the early 90s and stuff like that. So, but I love it regardless. It looks great, and I know they have this on Blu-ray, which I'd love to pick up as well. Great Gothic flick, great classic horror flick, very much in the vein of like Dracula and Frankenstein, but very cool to see what the Italians were doing at the time. So let's take a look here at the scan. Very cool. Yep, like I said, I used that muted color palette. Now, if you'll notice too, I did not ink at all on this piece. I just kind of wanted to keep this a little bit closer to like a painting would be, without any kind of harsh comic lines. The only lines I used were in that black there for her hair, and that's, again, just done in marker. I tried to color correct this a little bit because it's hard to see the purples. The cameras and even the scan weren't picking them up too hard. So I tried to color correct just a little bit to get a little closer to what it would look like in real life. But yeah, so great flick, very moody. All those holes or pimples on her face, now you know they're the holes from when the mask was pounded into her face with a sledgehammer. So cool stuff. But yeah, I had a blast doing this. I'm glad to tell you guys about it. I feel like this movie isn't brought up nearly enough, especially in like classic horror circles. Definitely worth seeking out. Like I said, I know they have a Blu-ray release. I have not seen that yet though, but I'm going to assume it looks great. And yeah, very much worth checking out. Well, that's it for me today, guys. I hope you guys have a great Sunday, a bloody Sunday, a black Sunday, whatever you want to do. I hope it's awesome. And we'll see you tomorrow, where we're on the last couple days of Drawlloween, and I cannot believe it. Till then, guys, we'll see you later.